Am I an a-hole for admitting that I regret raising my ex's kid after what she did to my daughter? Am I the a-hole? My coworker hit on me and said he didn't want anyone to know, but I told people. Am I the a-hole for moving sharp, heavy objects that were hanging above the baby's change table? Am I an a-hole for admitting that I regret raising my ex's kid after what she did to my daughter? I, 56 male, said something in anger that, while at least partially true, maybe should have just taken to the grave. Legally, I have 3 kids, but played a fatherly role to 4. The 2 relevant children to this story is my daughter Michelle, 24 female, her sister Amy, 22 female, and my youngest daughter Kelly, 21 female. Amy is not my daughter, but she and Michelle have the same mother, Jessica. When I was with Jessica, there was cheating on both sides, and the last guy she cheated on me with got her pregnant. After the DNA test proved that Amy was his, he bolted and stopped paying child support when Amy was 5. Jessica really struggled as a single mother, and Amy always felt bad that Michelle had a daddy while she didn't. And Michelle would tell me how guilty she felt. By the time Amy was around 9, I started making really good money and decided to pay a little more than the legally mandated child support and taking Amy with me more. Jessica, Amy, and Michelle all loved this. And by the time Amy was 13, she was calling me dad, which I didn't mind. I thought I was doing a good thing and helping my daughter foster a loving relationship with Amy, and showing all my kids that just because things don't work out doesn't mean you still can't get along. Apparently, I was a little too nice and teaching in the importance of sharing too much, because Amy got a crazy idea in her head that it was okay to share a man, and Michelle caught her sleeping with Kelly's boyfriend, Jason, 22 male. Amy begged Michelle not to tell and that this was a one-time thing, and Michelle believed her until she found out that Amy was pregnant and eventually came clean. Kelly was distraught and angry at both Amy and Jason while hurt by Michelle. I didn't hide my disappointment at Michelle and have made it a point to tell her so every time we talked. I haven't spoken to Amy in months, but Jessica recently said that I've spent enough time being angry to get over it and called me a hypocrite because I used to be a Jason. I have no delusions about being the perfect partner in my past, but cheating with my family members is not one of my sins. About a week ago, Amy came to my house crying and saying that while she knows she messed up, she really needs my support. She literally came not too long after Kelly cried herself to sleep again upstairs over what Amy and Jason did to her. And I calmly asked her how can I give again what I know regret giving in the first place, then shut the door in her face. I then sent Michelle a text that while I still loved her, Amy was no longer welcomed in my life, and to never bring her to my house. I've calmed down a bit, but I still feel like being involved in Amy's life was a bad choice. So, am I the a-hole?
Well, you played a fatherly role in Amy's life. You are not her father. You are Michelle and Kelly's father. By allowing Amy to remain in your life and bail her out, she will always believe she can get away with crap like this and hurt your daughters. Michelle and Kelly deserve to have a side of their family that is free from Amy's crap. Kelly will know at your house she does not have to deal with Amy. She won't have her ex-boyfriend and his child rubbed in her face at family gatherings. She won't have to look at Amy and feel that betrayal. Should you have said it? No. But Amy can now live with the consequences of her actions. I also hate how some people are using Amy's age as an excuse for her actions. Sure, I was way more reckless and thrill-seeking and prone to bad decisions at 22 than I am now, in my 30s. Yet, somehow, I managed to never sleep with any of my sister's boyfriends or exes or hell anyone she remotely expressed an interest in. I couldn't imagine betraying her like that, and, at the end of the day, it ain't that hard to keep your legs closed. Sorry if that sounds misogynistic, but honestly. Also, isn't it kinda gross, the thought of going somewhere your sister's already been? Like even if you're not biologically related, talk about sloppy seconds. Thanks kind strangers for the stars. Just wanted to add, if OP does forgive Amy, and she has the baby, think how things will play out. Those family gatherings are gonna be so awkward, and everyone will have some kind of betrayal or hurt with each other. The baby will just remind them of it. I am in no way saying she should abort or keep the baby, that is her decision. I just think letting Amy back in will cause major damage in bonds like OP and Kelly. Plus the BF doesn't seem to involve any of this, so I don't think he's gonna be the most help when the baby comes, so I believe she is looking to secure financial support with you now for when the baby comes. NTA I've seen so many people in this sub tell parents who have biological children in this situation that they're doing the wrong thing when they treat the sibling who cheated the same and expect the sibling who was cheated on to suck it up and forgive them. I don't know why it would be different just because one of these siblings isn't biologically yours. You're standing up for your daughter who was betrayed by her BF and her sister. You're telling her sister that you don't support her and that you're disappointed in her. Did you maybe go a bit too far in saying you regret raising her? Some people might think so, but honestly I don't. She did an unforgivable thing. Even if she was yours, I feel that you would have some regret as a parent that she ever thought this was okay. Amy made a choice. She made it over and over again. Did she know all of the consequences of her choice? Probably not. Doesn't mean she shouldn't suffer the consequences of that choice.
Am I the a-hole? My coworker hit on me and said he didn't want anyone to know, but I told people. I'm working a temp job during college to help afford it. But since my next semester is a work rotation, I've put in my notice at my job. My coworker who's working there long-term hit on me. He's a lot older and has kids who are like way closer to college age than he is. I said that I was more so the age of his kids, and he was like, no, you're a young woman and they're in middle school. Which was so creepy, like he was trying to argue me out of saying no. Like just knowing math, 14 and 21 is way closer than 40 to 50-ish and 21. I told him he was being sketched and he asked me to be discreet about it at work. I was like, oh, like you were discreet? Anyway, he was saying he was working there long term and not just as a quick thing like me. And it would be really selfish of me to flit in and out in 4 months, not even loyal to my company or team, like kids do. Why was he flirting if he thinks I'm kids? Yikes. I was like, alright man, because I felt super on the spot, but I thought about it later and I thought it was sketch. He said not to tell anyone. Like that's only something you say if you're doing something you don't want to get caught out doing. And he was pissing me off, so why would I want to protect his secret that I didn't even want to have? Anyway, my co-workers and boss were talking about throwing me a goodbye party at a local bar, and I said that I didn't want one. They asked why, and I said I wasn't super hyped about the idea of drinking with the guy because he was trying to get with me and he had kids my age, and it was just a bad vibe. And if there's anything I've learned, it's that you don't go drinking with someone who doesn't get boundaries. My co-workers were like, what? And I told them everything and we decided to just do a party without this guy. My manager also wanted to talk me alone and she seemed worried he might be doing the same with other people there. I said I didn't know anything about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Because he hardly knows me from Adam, so he definitely wasn't into me because of some personal connection. It felt more like he was shotgunning his shot at a random chick he hardly knows. My boss thanked me for being honest, and I went home without talking to that guy. But the next day at work, he tried to talk to me alone, and I kinda steered the conversation into a public area, and he stopped trying to talk. A couple other times, he tried to talk and stopped as soon as someone else came in earshot. He seemed upset with me, and maybe this was shitty of me, but I wanted no part of whatever conversation he was trying to have, so I purposely stuck close to my coworkers and customers all day. I think he might be mad because he said not to say anything and I did. Am I the a-hole for telling my coworkers that my coworker was hitting on me?
NTA, I mean, it's so obvious, right? Except it's not as obvious when you're in the middle of a situation like this. Like if you're a young woman who society is trying to condition to always take into account men's needs and feelings. The argument of is what I did really so bad that you would ruin my life over it? Almost sounds reasonable. Especially when you consider the possible fallout of making a dude with no boundaries angry. So I get why you would be having second thoughts. But know your NTA, you aren't being overly dramatic or sensitive or immature or any of the words people will throw at you when they get caught out. If what he did was no big deal, it wouldn't matter to him if people heard about it. NTA. Here's an idea for him. Maybe if a grown adult man doesn't want people y'all work with to know that he hit on a college-age coworker that is closer to his children's age than his own, then maybe he shouldn't have hit on her. The fact that he told you not to tell anyone is proof that he knows he was in the wrong for hitting on you, and he was banking on the fact that you would play the sweet non-confrontational girl role and just cover for him. Right now, I am dealing with sexual harassment at work from my boss who is 18 years my senior, who has done the same thing. Said things, in person and in drunken texts, and made crude remarks, but all in the same breath says but don't tell anyone, I could get in trouble. I finally got the balls last month to report him, and I told the big boss, aka his supervisor, and they made me switch to a different department at work to keep him away from me. I am not happy about this change, so when co-workers have asked me why I transferred departments, I tell them the truth. That boss harassed me for the last 2 years, and corporate solution was to move me to a different position, with less pay and more hours. Now he is pissed off because others are looking at him sideways. Don't feel bad. His own words and actions are what has gotten him in trouble. Not yours. People that act a certain way and then get mad at others for reacting to their initial behavior in a certain way will always play NTA. In my personal experience, asking you to keep secrets for him is a grooming tactic to test whether or not he can push more boundaries and not get into trouble. I'm not saying he was doing that or doing that intentionally, but it does mean generally not letting guys tell you to keep it a secret over something like this that involves behavior made towards you directly doesn't make you it makes you someone who is more resistant to being groomed by creeps. Also, I wonder if he targeted you precisely because he didn't expect you to hang around and thought if it went sour, he wouldn't have to deal with any repercussions. Which means that the long-termers there might not have any stories about him, but others who were there for a season might. Also, you have good instincts, I think. Not just how you responded, but also not wanting to have him drinking with you at a party, not letting him corner you in private, etc. Everything about how you responded seems sensible and setting appropriate boundaries. Please don't let anyone cause you to suppress that sense because it's smart.
Am I the a-hole for moving sharp, heavy objects that were hanging above the baby's change table? I'm 7 months pregnant and in the process of moving into my boyfriend's place. It's a cozy, rustic cabin and he has decorated it with various found artifacts and objects like old axes, saws, etc. Above the windows, he has wedged into the trim multiple old circular saw blades and large old railroad nails. Yesterday, while he was tidying up, I suggested we move the saw blades and railroad nails from above area, where we plan to have the change table. This made him angry and he absolutely refused, saying they would never fall and I am being an irrational helicopter parent. He wouldn't hear me out and got angrier and angrier when I tried to explain that having those sharp heavy objects would be a needless stress to me every time the baby was changed. I knew they would probably never fall, but I couldn't get the thought of those objects decapitating or crushing our baby out of my mind, and so I moved them and arranged them on the wall a few feet over the wood stove. I thought he would realize he was being irrational, but he has doubled down and completely cut off all affection toward me. He thinks it is a sign that I am going to be a helicopter parent that turns his child into a wimp. He says I have ruined a part of him and he will be packing up all of his stuff tonight.
Info. What does he mean by packing up all his stuff tonight? Like, is he moving out of his place or just taking all the decapitation objects down off the wall? Actually, you might be dodging a bullet here. Your asking to move the saw blades is reasonable and his reaction was not reasonable. If he gets this upset over a reasonable request to move potentially dangerous object from a location the baby will spend a lot of time at and thinking that will make your child a wimp, then you might be better off living elsewhere. Also, if moving saw blades away from the baby's changing table has ruined a part of him, he's got some problems you are not going to have the time or skills to deal with. NTA. Exactly. All sorts of things could happen to cause those to come off the wall, you never know. And even if there is only a slim chance of it happening, a mother's protective instincts are very powerful. It would drive her crazy to have those near her baby, even if the chances of anything happening are small. Moving the dangerous objects means that the mother is at ease and the baby is safe. There's absolutely no reason not to move them. Why do they have to be directly above the changing table? He can easily display them somewhere else. Why would he want the mother of his child to be deeply uncomfortable and on edge just for the sake of displaying pointy objects near a baby's changing table? Like FFS, if that were me, it would be a no-brainer. If it makes the mother of my child feel better, then yes, of course, move the damn things. Why the hell is he taking this so personally? NTA, let's be clear. He is prioritizing his attachment to old saw blades and railroad nails over your concerns over your baby's safety. I'm pretty sure that all parenting books have a section about baby-proofing the house, but they might not specifically mention saw blades because of how mind-numbingly obvious it is. Also, the child isn't born yet and he's concerned about it being a wimp. What the actual F? You need to have a discussion with him about that comment as well. Is he not going to love your child if they're a tender and sensitive soul? What if they're gay? It's too late to decide if you want to copper this human, but it's not too late to decide if you want to live with him while doing so. Look up the Gottman Institute's research on what makes a relationship last, because what he's doing now by cutting you off from any affection or care is called stonewalling. It's a manipulative technique and a sign that a relationship isn't likely to last. Good luck. As for red flags, I'm concerned about his vocabulary. Calling a baby a wimp because a parent has moved hazardous objects. Yes, these objects don't pose a potential risk, but a serious hazard. Indicates he's likely to be a parent that emotionally deprived their child. If your kid falls down and cries, will your BF say suck it up and stop acting like a baby girl? This will foster deep emotional problems in your child. Maybe this is a one-off thing. Talk to your BF first, find out what expectations he has of you and this child. Do it in a way you ask questions, you listen, you ask more questions and listen more, and keep this up until you fully unpack what type of parent and partner he's going to be. Don't insert your own opinions as his sharing his, as you want an unfiltered version without him adjusting to hide things from you if he's being judged. After hearing him out, think on everything you have heard them, make what's going to be the best decision for you and your child. NTA. As peculiar as I find his decorating tastes, I wonder if he is just expressing some new parent anxiety. When I was pregnant, my husband expressed his totally normal anxiety towards becoming a parent in ways that were very odd to me. He chose random and bizarre hills to die on, chose really unique ideas to argue about. And sometimes he insulted me. You're going to be a helicopter, spoil our child, yada yada, and we would usually resolve the issue after we unburied where his outbursts were stemming from. He would apologize too. Saying that to say, maybe once he calms down, the chance for a rational conversation may arise. I think you're completely in the right about moving the items you did, so I'm not saying you need to apologize, because you absolutely do not. But maybe once he calms down he'll be able to admit where his emotions actually came from, i.e. he's anxious about losing himself to parenthood. The saws and such obviously representing himself. It's okay to be anxious, it's not okay to insult you. 7 Good luck with this situation and new parenthood.